refrigerator in place here where it's going to go. I've already reversed the door so I can open it that way. It came opening this way. And you can see it's a little bit lower than the countertop of the cabinets. So the first thing I'm going to do is build a toe kick to raise it up 4 inches. And that'll kind of match the toe kick there. So I've cut some plywood 4-inch strips. These are for the front and back. And I'll cut 2 more for the sides. All right, so I finished the toe kick box. So the refrigerator is going to sit on top of that. And you can see it's 3 inches recessed in, just like the toe kick here. And I have some extra toe kick over there, which matches the cabinets. So that's going to get glued on there later. I went ahead and scribed the outside panel here up against the wall. It's good to leave a little extra on the side and the top while you're doing that scribe. That way you can trim it off perfectly once you have it up against the wall, nice and tight, like that. Then I'm gonna take this piece and make sure it fits on the other side so I can duplicate it. So here's what we got so far. I've got the toe kick box, which the refrigerator will sit on. I've cut the 2 panels here to scribe it to the curve of the wall. And this one here, I painted this side of it white, because you'll see that from the garage. From here up, I painted it because the refrigerator will come up to about here, so you won't see the inside of this. And then I took a paint can and made this 1/4 radius with the edge of a paint can. I scored it with a razor blade, cut it with the jigsaw so the razor blade stops it from fraying on the edges here, and then I just kind of sanded it off. Once I get this all set up the way I want it, I'll take 2 of the 1x3s there and Craig screw them to each side. And then I have these filler strips that I've cut down, and I'll have 1 on each side like this, 1 going across the top here, and then I have an end panel here that will get glued to the outside of this piece. That's going to make it look like a real cabinet. So now I just need to transfer this shape onto the finished panel. And you can see when I put this against the wall, it's just slightly less than perfect. The bottom it's perfect, and then about halfway up it comes off a little bit. So I'm going to take some of that blue tape, tighten it up against the wall there, so when I transfer it onto the finished panel, because that's the only one you're going to see against the wall, I'll make that one perfect. Alright, that's cut to place now. So I think I can assemble the whole thing now that everything's cut. We'll connect these like that. And if you look at the side of the fridge, there's space for them. I could put one right here and then one right about here. Alright, I've made the electrical connection here, and I've put the backing on this. So I can put this into place and screw this part into the bed frame. Alright, so that's pretty much finished. Now I can screw the refrigerator into the frame, which will kind of suck it in a little bit, make it have more of a tight fit. I also have to cut the toe kick to go on the front there. Alright, toe kick is in. The cabinet's looking good. So I did go ahead and cut a piece of plywood for the top here. So now I'm just working on making the templates for the granite. You can see here I probably should have made this curve a little bit higher. So when I cut this out, it's kind of into the the curve, so I had to put some filler in there so I could make a good template for my granite guy. He's gonna have to kind of make a weird cut there. And I've got like a 1-inch overhang on this piece here. Right here is 1 1/8 inches, but I'm probably gonna follow this 1.5 inches, which is more standard. You can see how I had the notch around this area here. It's got the overhang, and the door still closes just fine. There's plenty of room, as you can see. And the only other thing I need to do is make the cutouts now with the templates for the cooktop. That's gonna go right here. And then the sink that's gonna go right here. All right, I've just marked for the templates for the sink right here and for the cooktop. And I also make sure you measure. You wanna know where the inside of the cabinet is right there, because the sink, being an undermount sink, will have a little bit of a lip that'll come out like that. So you want to make sure you have room for that. And then you also need to make sure you have room for your faucet to be drilled right here. And I think this should look pretty good like this. Okay, this template is ready to be brought to the granite guy. Everything's cut out. I am planning on asking the granite guy if I could keep this template. That way I can use it as the piece of plywood underneath. After he uses it to make his template, what I'll do is I'll cut it flush with the cabinet and then screw it down as the little piece of plywood that goes under the granite, like I did over here. You can see that piece under there. So I've mentioned before on the channel, what you want to do, instead of going to like a granite retail store or something like that, is find a fabricator like this. And they almost always have extra pieces of remnant granite or stone, or in my case quartz, laying around, and you can pick through their remnants, and they usually sell it to you really inexpensively, and it's like 1/5 the price getting your countertops from a fabricator than going to like a retail store. So here I'm just going through all the different remnants that he has in stock, and picking out the one I wanted. That one was pretty good.
It's good?
I think so. It's gonna clean up, yeah?
Yeah, no, it's off. Is it off?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah? Okay.
We'll use that one. All right, so I'm just leaving the granite yard now, and that was really good. He gave me a price for $450 for the material and everything finished. He's gonna cut a hole for the sink and for the faucet and the soap dispenser. And $450, it's a pretty good price, and he says he'll have it done by tomorrow, so that's great. I'll show you what it looks like tomorrow when I come back to pick it up. These are the RV latches I use for the drawers. I'll put a link in the description below for them. And then I'm just gonna screw this part to the inside of the drawer, and then it just snaps in place like that. And it's takes a pretty good amount of pressure to pull it out, so your drawers don't go flying open when you're driving. And you can see this is the time to put these in before you have the countertops in, because it's a lot easier to do it this way. You could do it with the countertops on, but it's a lot harder. You can see I clicked it in, and now that it's clicked into the exact correct place, now I can screw it in. That way I don't have to worry about it not lining up or anything. If the countertop was on, you wouldn't be able to do this, at least with the top drawer. You could pull the top drawer out later on and do it with the one below, and the bottom drawer as well, but for the top drawer you won't be able to do this if the countertop's on. So now's the time to put these latches in. So now this is all installed, and obviously I'll need to put a pull on to make this work, but I can push it from the inside now. You can see how it just kind of locks in pretty good. I can't actually even pull this out without having a pull on here. I have to push it from the inside. Now that I have the fridge screwed in and everything, the next thing I like to do is I'm going to add this piece of wood here. I've got the Craig screws already pre-drilled. This is going to go wedged right here like this, but up tight obviously. And then I have this foldable step so that you can have something to put your foot on to get up into the bed a little bit easier. I'll put a link for this. I have an Amazon link for this. This thing's really awesome. It's really sturdy. It's like made for like big rig trucks. And it just folds out of the way so it doesn't take up any of your storage space through here if you're like putting like a long surfboard through here or something. It's not like a big permanent step that's like blocking everything. It just kind of folds up out of the way. I really like it. So I usually put 2 big bolts through these holes here after I pre-drill. Now that the fridge is completely installed, before I can put the fuse in to turn it on, I need to add a vent right here. So I've got this vent. I'll put a link for this one. I like this because it's 10 by 4 inches, and all the ones at Home Depot were a lot larger, or they have like the thick back for using them with like air conditioning. This is just an air return vent. And we're just gonna use the Dremel to cut a little space right here. If you don't add the vent and turn this on, this refrigerator will overheat because it has a fan that's right back here. So we're going to put the vent right here. Alright, now that we've got the vent cut in, I put in a 15 amp fuse in the fuse box. And we're going to take this warm beer, turn it on, and see if it gets cold. Let's see, the lights are on, so that's a good sign. And turn the knob on here. Okay, up next, I'm going to put in some cabinet pulls here for the drawers. Takes a pretty good amount of pressure to pull it out once you lock it in place. Definitely not going to come open while you're driving. When you give it a good tug, it just unclips. I'll put a link in the description below for those RV latches. Also for these. You can see this came out really nice. The kind of natural stone here. Wasn't a particularly smooth install. The granite guy didn't follow my template exactly. And then I told him I only wanted like a 1 inch or 1.1 inch overhang here. And he made 1.5 inches. So it was like coming out to here. So in order to fix it, they had to cut a 1/2 inch off of that side there, push the whole thing down, which meant they needed to redo this little cut here. And usually the guy who does it for me is like the head guy, and he's really good, but they kind of like passed me off to this like apprentice. The guy was kind of clueless, to be honest, and he kept having to like try and redo this cut because he kept like not cutting it right with the grinder. So finally I was just like, I just asked him to let me have it, and I just did it myself, and now it looks pretty good. Sink is in. This is all glued down with the silicone. This has been in for almost 24 hours now, so it's all dry. I could take this stuff off now. And it took the guy so long to put this thing in. Usually they don't even install it for me. I'm not sure why they even installed it for me, but it took them so long to do it that I told them, don't even worry about this one. I'll do this one at home, because I didn't actually want it installed there anyway, because when you're driving it could move around, and it's best to, once you glue this down, just park the van for 24 hours and let the silicone dry. So I'm gonna do this one now. And the other thing you may be wondering is it too heavy to put stone in the van? And it's really not that heavy, because as you can see, it's only half the thickness of what it looks like, because it has that edge on it. You can kind of see here. So it's not as heavy as it looks, and especially the counter on the other side. It has the big cutout for the sink and then a big cutout for the cooktop, so you can easily lift that with one person. It's not that heavy. So now we'll just let that dry for 24 hours, and then I'll also come in with a little white caulking along the edge here and make it look perfect. Yeah, it looks pretty good. And then, like I said here, so you can see, because these two big areas are cut out, and the thickness of the slab is actually only that thick. It's not this thick. This is just a false edge. It's not actually that heavy, so it's not really a problem. So now that the countertop's in and I know the height here, I could finally put in this scribe molding here to cover this edge. So I'm going to cut that right now. So the other thing we can finally do now that the countertops are in here is put in the trim molding around the bed to hide that seam. And I've got this molding down here. So I'm gonna finally get started on taking care of that on both sides here. Now, I don't want to brag, but actually I do, because that is a perfect cut. Look at that. Thinking, did that beer ever get cold? And yes, it did. It's ice cold. Cheers.
Give him your wallet.
What for?
He's got a knife.
That's not a knife. That's a knife.
Alright guys, I think that's going to do it for today. I think we got a lot done in this episode. And stay tuned, because next episode we're going to be doing all the plumbing and setting up the propane cooktop here, and maybe even the outdoor shower in the back, the heated shower. So if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, and I'll see you guys next time.